Imagine, if you will, a TV show that just manages to achieve like the absolute pinnacle of industry success.
Right, we're talking a complete sweep here.
Exactly. I mean, a year where this one production takes home every single major award on the circuit.
Oh yeah, the BAFTAs, the National Television Awards, the British Soap Awards.
All of them. Best Actor, Best Actress, Best Storyline, Best Serial Drama. It is wearing the undisputed crown of critical acclaim.
It's the prestige dream.
It is. But then at the exact same time, simultaneously, right, while the producers are, popping champagne and polishing those trophies, the show is quietly hemorrhaging 500,000 viewers.
Yeah, just bleeding the audience out.
And the writing becomes so unbelievably chaotic, just completely untethered from reality. It starts to feel less like a prestige drama and more like a fever dream you have after eating way too much cheese before bed.
That is the perfect way to describe it.
Welcome to the Jeep Dive. I'm so glad you were here with us today because this one is wild.
It really is the ultimate television paradox because you're looking at a piece of media that was officially, according to the industry establishment, the best thing on TV.
Right.
But the actual audience watching at home, they were filing for creative divorce in absolute droves.
Today, we are taking an extensive forensic look at the British soap opera Emmerdale. And specifically, we're zooming in on the year 2017.
Which is such a fascinating year.
It really is. Because for a lot of casual viewers or industry critics looking back, it's regarded as this golden year.
On paper, sure.
Exactly, on paper. But if you actually talk to the audience, the people who tuned in every single night, it is universally recognized as the year the show just spectacularly lost the plot.
Oh, completely lost it. It's known for being so bad, it's funny.
Yes. It resulted in storytelling that was unintentionally hilarious, bizarrely paced, and honestly, it caused long-term structural damage to the show's ratings.
And our mission today is to understand exactly how that happened. So we're going to dig through the viewership data, the fan forum archives.
The forums are a goldmine for this.
Oh, absolutely. Plus, behind-the-scenes interviews with storyliners and critical breakdowns of the narrative structure. We really want to figure out how a prestige drama traded its reputation for deep, slow-burn character studies for essentially cheap social media shock value.
Okay, let's unpack this, because I promise you this is going to be a wild ride. We are going to be talking about fake babies, accidental woodland gunfights, ghost characters riding shotgun and hatchbacks.
Don't forget the creative spreadsheet accounting.
Oh my gosh, yes, the creative accounting is my favorite part. But to understand why 2017 was such a spectacular train wreck, we kind of have to understand the peak they were falling from, right?
Exactly. Context is everything here, because if we light the baseline, between the years of 2010 and 2016, UK soap operas in general, and Emmerdale in particular, were experiencing a genuine, verifiable renaissance.
It wasn't just like, oh, this is good for a soap.
No. It was objectively excellent boundary-pushing television. The whole genre felt like it had evolved. And by 2016, Emmerdale was arguably leading the entire pack. I mean, they were pulling in 5.67 million viewers on average.
Which is an incredible nightly footprint.
It's massive.
And my understanding is that a really big engine for that 2016 success was the Ashley Thomas dementia storyline.
Oh, absolutely.
I remember the buzz around that. The way they handled his early onset dementia with such patience. It felt like this slow burn masterpiece that really earned every single tear.
I even did that special episode.
Yeah. The one told entirely from his perspective, where they were blurring the camera, distorting the audio to show his confusion.
It was a profound achievement. And that patient, deeply emotional storytelling is exactly what built the massive momentum going into 2017.
So the industry recognized it.
Oh, big time. January 2017, they win Best Serial Drama at the NTAs. May, Best Continuing Drama at the BAFTAs. And then by June, at the British Soap Awards, it was a total sweep.
Best Soap, Best Actor, Best Actress, Best Storyline. They were untouchable.
Completely untouchable.
But hold on. If you have a winning formula, deep character studies, slow burns, universal acclaim, why break it?
That's the million-dollar question.
It's like a varsity athlete in full kit, medals around their neck, standing on the podium, and then suddenly stepping off to aggressively trip over flat ground on purpose. Was this just a case of a writer's room having way too many ideas and throwing them all at the wall?
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture, it wasn't just an abundance of ideas. It was a fundamental change in the machinery of how the show was produced. And it was driven by an external panic.
Okay, what kind of panic?
We have to look at the broader media landscape of 2017. This was the year streaming platforms were truly terrifying traditional broadcast networks.
Oh, the Netflix effect.
Exactly. The pressure from the top was to generate immediate viral social media moments. Executives wanted the show trending on Twitter. They wanted shocking headlines in the tabloids.
Right, bigger, louder, faster.
Yeah, and that mandate completely replaced the older, slower instinct to simply tell a good story.
So the mechanics of television writing actually shifted. They prioritized the algorithm over the narrative.
Precisely, because you have to remember, a daily soap opera is essentially a geographical ecosystem. It relies on ambient reality.
Like watching characters buy milk or have a pint in the pub.
Exactly, complaining about the weather. That creates a baseline of normalcy. So when a tragedy happens in that environment, it hits incredibly hard because it disrupts the established normalcy.
It feels real.
Right. But in 2017, the production tried to adopt this bingeable, thriller-level pacing. They tried to pack in the aftermath of a massive Houghton bypass crash, the total downfall of the legacy White family, a harrowing domestic abuse storyline, and a psychological spiral, all at the same time.
Oh, wow. I see what you mean. If the baseline is chaos, then the tragedies don't land at all.
No, you just become numb to the noise.
The impact is buried under the sheer volume of the plot.
And this brings us to one of the most glaring casualties of this shock over substance era, the destruction of what was arguably the show's golden asset at the time.
Are we talking about Rob Ron?
We are talking about the relationship between Robert Sugden and Erin Dingle.
Ah, Rob Ron. I mean, even if you didn't watch the show back then, you couldn't escape that portmanteau online. Yeah. They had a massive, fiercely dedicated fan base.
They did. Their relationship had been built over years of incredibly subtle scenes, complex emotional negotiations, and genuine character growth. But in 2017, the show nuked it.
They really did. So Aaron is sent to prison, and while he's inside, Robert cheats on him.
Yep, by having a one-night stand with his former flame, Rebecca White.
And the online fallout from this was just atomic, right? The fan base felt completely betrayed.
It was catastrophic. The outrage was so intense that a storyliner for the show, Joe Parkinson, was actually forced off Twitter due to the volume of vitriol.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and the criticism took on several dimensions, particularly regarding representation. Well, many viewers felt that having Robert, who is a bisexually coded character, cheat on his gay husband with a woman played directly into harmful stereotypes. You know, the idea that bisexuals are inherently unfaithful or incapable of monogamy.
Oh, right. That is a highly sensitive tightrope to walk. Did the production team ever address that specific criticism from the fans?
They did try. Before leaving the platform, Parkinson tried to defend the narrative choice. His argument was that Robert's bisexuality was entirely irrelevant to the act of cheating.
Okay, so what was his reasoning?
He argued that the scene wasn't Robert saying, "Oh, I must sleep with a woman." It was rather a man in a drunken stupor, lashing out and self-destructing because he felt that Erin was giving up on him from inside prison.
Okay, let's look at that defense. I mean, I understand the writer's intention there. But even if we strip away the entirely valid discourse around representation and just look at this purely through the mechanics of character logic, it still completely falls apart.
Oh, completely.
Because Robert Sugden is fundamentally written as a master manipulator. He is a strategist. He plays chess while everyone else is playing checkers.
That is the core of the character assassination right there.
Right. So to have him make this incredibly sloppy, impulsive, drunken mistake just so the plot can move forward, it contradicts his established intelligence.
Exactly.
The cheating doesn't feel like a tragic character flaw. It feels like a cheap plot device designed specifically to generate a Twitter trend.
It made a brilliant character look entirely incompetent. And, you know, it didn't just damage Robert. Erin, whose emotional depth has always been one of the show's greatest strengths, was dragged into these exhausting, repetitive cycles of trauma.
Yeah, there was no meaningful progression for him.
None. The writers just kept hitting the trauma button to elicit a reaction until it just started feeling cruel to the viewer.
It's just trauma for the sake of trauma. And the fallout from that one-night stand birthed another storyline that feels completely disjointed.
Let's talk about Rebecca White's pregnancy.
Yes, because her characterization during this period is giving me whiplash just thinking about it.
The Rebecca arc is a masterclass in tonal inconsistency. Because the pacing of 2017 was so hyperactive, they didn't have time to map out a coherent internal logic for her.
Right.
So depending on which block of episodes you watched, Rebecca was written as two entirely different people.
So she just bounces between genres.
Exactly. One week, she was written as a deeply sympathetic character, genuinely trying to navigate co-parenting a child in a very messy, hostile situation.
Which is grounded drama.
Right. But the next week, she was written as a full-blown psycho nurse, straight out of a 90s psychological thriller.
Just obsessively pursuing Robert.
Obsessively pursuing Robert, plotting against Aaron, acting with deep malice.
It's like the writers had two completely different character Bibles for her, and they just randomly swapped them out depending on who's writing the script that day.
Exactly.
The poor actress must have been so confused about what show she was starring in.
It is the hallmark of a production where the story is dragging the characters rather than the characters driving the story.
So true.
But while the destruction of Rabran was enraging the very vocal, very online core fan base, there was another storyline happening at the exact same time that was quietly, insidiously gaslighting the broader audience.
Oh boy. Nell Fairfax.
Yes.
Just hearing that name makes me want to scream at a television.
Nell's saga is a fascinating case study in narrative deceit. So to set the stage for you, Jai Sharma, a legacy character, is deeply grieving his former girlfriend, Holly Barton.
Right, who tragically died of a heroin overdose the previous year.
Yes. So in March 2017, Jai is attending a Narcotics Anonymous meeting, and in walks Nell Fairfax, played by Scarlett Archer.
And Nell is the absolute spitting image of dead Holly.
Yeah.
I mean, she has the same bohemian style, the same mannerisms, and a suspiciously similar story of addiction.
Precisely. And Jai is completely blinded by his unresolved grief. He feels this desperate need to save someone since he couldn't save Holly.
So he takes Nell out for food, and she steals his wallet.
She does, but he forgives her. He eventually takes her off the streets, gives her a job, and lets her move into his home, much to the absolute horror of his sister Priya.
Priya was the only one living in reality during this entire arc.
Seriously. But Jai becomes Nell's rock, and her backstory just keeps getting darker.
Oh, it becomes relentlessly grim.
Nell reveals that because of her drug addiction, her infant daughter, Rosie, was taken away by social services.
And Jai is incredibly supportive. He encourages her to track Rosie down.
Right, and then Nell receives the devastating news that Rosie died suddenly while in care.
And Jai even takes Nell to what is supposedly Rosie's funeral.
But Nell insists on watching it from a distance, hiding in the bushes, refusing to speak to the adoptive parents.
That detail alone should have been a massive red flag.
Absolutely. And then comes the ultimate complication. Nell announces she's pregnant with Jai's baby.
Of course she is.
So after some hesitation, Jai decides he's all in, he's going to marry her, he goes out to buy an engagement ring, and this leads to the climax.
The receipt moment.
Yes. Jai is looking at rings, and he happens to glance at a display of photo frames for sale.
Oh, this is the classic soap opera trope, executed perfectly. Inside the display frame is a generic, stock photo of a little girl.
Right.
And it's the exact same photo Nell has been carrying around in her purse, claiming is her dead daughter, Rosie.
The gotcha moment. Jai realizes the photo is fake. His entire reality crumbles. He rushes home, frantically searches through Nell's belongings, and finds a trove of newspaper clippings.
Articles about him. Articles about Holly's tragic death.
Right, so he confronts her, and the entire house of cards collapses.
Nell Fairfax is not a recovering heroin addict.
No.
She never had a daughter named Rosie. She's not pregnant. She faked an overdose.
Everything was a lie.
She had literally read the tragic news story about Jai and Holly, intentionally tracked him down, and inserted herself into his life to play the victim.
Now, this raises an important question about the audience experience, because leading up to this twist, for months, fans on Reddit and the fan forums had been fiercely criticizing Nell.
Oh, they were ruthless.
They were calling Scarlett Archer a bad actress. They complained that her emotional scenes didn't feel genuine, that she seemed to be crying crocodile tears, and that her behavior was just slightly off.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though. Scarlett Archer actually knew about the twist from her very first day on set.
She did.
I remember reading an interview where she confirmed this. She was intentionally playing the character as a liar.
An actor playing someone who is acting?
Exactly. She deliberately made her tears look fake to drop these breadcrumbs for the audience. And she had to sit there for months, reading comments, calling her terrible at her job, suffering in absolute silence to protect the reveal.
It requires an immense amount of discipline. And when the reveal aired in September 2017, the audience was entirely split.
Yeah, half were staggered by the twist, and the other half felt entirely vindicated because they had suspected her from day one.
Right.
It's a brilliant performance, but looking at the writing, what is the psychology behind Nell? Like, why would someone do this?
The show did eventually provide a glimpse into her pathology. After the reveal, she confesses her backstory.
Right.
She explains that she had cancer as a child. And during that time, she realized that her family only truly loved her, only gave her attention and affection when she was sick and dying.
Oh, well.
So when she recovered, she felt she lost that love. So she developed this compulsion, a dark psychological need to seek out tragic stories in the news, find the grieving people, and insert herself into their lives.
That is so twisted.
It was her way of giving them a happier ending while simultaneously feeding her own desperate need to be a victim.
It's essentially a variation of fictitious disorder or Munchausen syndrome, but weaponized through the grief of others.
Exactly.
It's a genuinely fascinating psychological profile. I mean, if you read that in a Gillian Flynn thriller novel, you'd be hooked.
Oh, for sure.
But my issue is how it functions within the architecture of a soap opera.
How do you mean?
Well, a soap opera relies on a baseline of trust between the show and the viewer. You are asking the audience to invest their time 5 nights a week in these characters' emotional journeys.
Right.
So you spent months asking us to invest in Jai's genuine grief and his genuine attempt to save a dying addict. To then pull the rug out and say, gotcha, it was all a scam. It feels incredibly manipulative. It breaks the emotional contract.
That is a brilliant way to phrase it. It highlights a core problem with 2017. They prioritize the mechanics of the mystery, the shock of the reveal over the emotional truth of the characters.
Yes, you solve the plot, but you break the people.
Nell's story is a perfect example of prioritizing a massive rug pull over emotional continuity. And, her arc ends with her leaving the village and immediately pulling the exact same con on a new victim, calling herself Holly.
She just reboots the scam.
But that instinct to just shock the room didn't stay confined to new characters. It started infecting the legacy families, which brings us to the crescendo of chaos. The Bartons.
Oh, the Bartons. If you thought Nell's gaslighting of the audience was bad, let me introduce you to Emma Barton's gaslighting of an entire village.
It is quite the escalation.
Because Emma started out on the show as a really compelling character. She was a mother with deep guilt-driven instability. She'd abandoned her kids years ago. She was desperate for their love, and she was dangerously jealous. It was grounded, psychological family drama.
It was. But in 2017, the dial was cranked so far past 10 it broke off.
It really did.
Emma's descent into madness escalated so rapidly that it entirely lost any grounding in believability. We went from a woman struggling with her mental health to a full-on theatrical soap opera parody villain.
Manipulating crime scenes, trapping people in houses.
Accidentally causing massive car pileups, the tone was completely lost.
And it all culminated in her death. She is pushed off a viaduct, and the show decided to drag this out into a massive Who Killed Emma mystery that stretched on for weeks.
Was it Ross? Was it Pete? Was it Kane? Was it Moira?
Exactly. And from a structural standpoint, the Who Killed Emma storyline was fundamentally flawed. It took a narrative that was already exhausted and stretched it past its natural breaking point.
Emma's death should have been a tragic, inevitable conclusion to a psychological slow burn.
Right. Instead, it was turned into a puzzle box that generated confusion instead of genuine suspense. It felt like a mystery nobody actually asked for.
Totally. But the absolute nadir of this storyline, the moment that truly encapsulates the absurdity of 2017, happened just before Emma died. October 5th.
The death of Finn Barton. Okay, I need to try and make sense of the logistics of this scene.
Good luck.
So Emma Barton is spiraling. She is running through the dark woods at night, armed with a shotgun. She's manic. She's elucidating. She's firing blindly into the darkness.
It is a highly dangerous, chaotic situation.
Right. And where is her sweet, nerdy, beloved son, Finn, while this is happening?
Not at home, apparently.
For absolutely no logical reason whatsoever, Finn decides that this exact moment is the perfect time to go for a casual stroll through the pitch-black woods.
Then
He just wanders onto the set of a gunfight, and Emma accidentally shoots her own son. He essentially materializes in the line of fire purely to service the plot.
the spatial logistics of the scene are baffling. The show had so many characters, so many locations, and so many simultaneous crises happening that week. It felt like the production literally lost track of where everyone was supposed to be.
Seriously.
So Finn is shot, but the handling of the immediate aftermath is where the writing truly unravels.
The medical absurdity. Okay, so Finn is found. He is rushed to the hospital. He undergoes emergency surgery.
Right.
The doctors come out and say, good news, the surgery was a success. He's going to be fine. Everyone breathes a sigh of relief.
And then
And then 2 minutes into the very next episode, Finn randomly goes into cardiac arrest and dies.
What's fascinating here is the sheer lack of narrative discipline. From a writing perspective, if the gunshot is the cause of death, having him survive the surgery only to die of a heart attack 2 minutes later just muddies the emotional water.
Yeah, you pick one cause of death.
Exactly. By adding the random cardiac arrest, it robs the character of a proper, structurally meaningful goodbye. Finn Barton was a legacy character with a huge heart. He deserved a slow build.
He deserved an emotional send-off.
Instead, he got shot by accident because his mom was having a bad week and then died off-screen of a heart attack.
It's honestly baffling.
Yeah.
And the fans were split. Half of them were grieving the character, and the other half were sitting on their couches thinking, this is the most chaotic 30 minutes of television I have watched since the last chaotic 30 minutes of television.
Well, it was exhausting.
And then, amidst all this grief and medical impossibility, the show delivers a blunder so hilarious it went completely viral.
The infamous smartphone incident.
Finn is dead. His brothers, Ross and Pete, are devastated. They're at the hospital, and they're handed Finn's belongings in a plastic bag.
Right.
They sit down, open the bag, and pull out Finn's smartphone. Now let's establish the timeline.
Please do.
Finn has been missing in the woods for 2 days. He's been shot, he's been in surgery, he's dead. But when Ross pulls the phone out of the bag, the screen lights up. It is fully charged. The battery icon shows it's at like 90%.
No, in the grand scheme of television production, continuity errors happen all the time.
Sure.
But in the context of an episode that was already severely testing the limits of the audience's suspension of disbelief, finding a fully charged smartphone on a man who had been bleeding out in the woods for 48 hours became deeply symbolic.
It really did.
It became the ultimate emblem of a production that was rushing so fast to hit the next dramatic beat that they weren't checking the basic details.
It radiates first draft energy. You'd think, after accidentally shooting a beloved character, having him die of a random heart attack, and pushing his mother off a viaduct, the showrunners might say, okay, let's take a breath.
Let's have a week of quiet pints in the Woolpack.
Yes. Let the audience recover and process the grief.
That would be the traditional, logical approach to soap opera pacing. You consolidate the narrative, you let the grief breathe.
But 2017, Emmerdale did not know how to breathe.
No. Instead of slowing down, the pace actually accelerated. November and December arrived like a second bus going in the wrong direction.
It was a storyline blender. Let's just look at the sheer volume of simultaneous crises they crammed into the final 2 months of the year.
It's a lot.
First up, November 7th, we are deep in the Who Killed Emma mystery. Everyone is a suspect. The police are investigating. And then, in a completely random flashback shoved between other scenes, it's revealed that Ross Barton, Emma's son, found her suicide note weeks ago.
Right.
He had it the whole time, while the police were searching, while his family was agonizing.
And Ross keeping that secret could, in theory, be a rich, complex character decision, exploring his complicated feelings toward his abusive mother.
Yeah, that could be great drama.
But the way it was revealed as a sudden flashback meant it didn't land as a character revelation. It functioned purely as a cheap continuity patch.
It's like, oh, we forgot to explain this part.
It was the scriptwriting equivalent of finding a receipt from 3 months ago and saying, oh, so that's where the money went. It wasn't drama, it was housekeeping.
And then, 2 days later, November 9th, we have a major event.
Right.
Rebecca White gives birth to baby Seb.
Right.
This is the culmination of the entire Rob Run destruction arc we talked about earlier. This baby represents the nuclear explosion of the show's most popular couple.
It's a big deal.
This birth deserves weight. It deserves an entire episode dedicated to the emotional fallout. The camera needs to sit in the room and let the characters react to the reality of this child.
But again, the production chose volume over impact. In that exact same episode, while Rebecca is giving birth to a highly anticipated legacy character, the show decides to introduce a completely unrelated, bizarre tragedy.
The hairdryer death. I cannot believe we get to talk about the hairdryer death.
It's so bonkers.
So Rebecca is pushing out the most dramatically significant baby of the year. Meanwhile, down at the local salon, Beauty and Bernice, a random minor character named Mrs. Dumfries, is sitting under a salon hairdryer.
And she just dies.
She literally drops dead under the hairdryer.
There is no narrative connection between these two events. There is no thematic resonance. Nobody at home was asking for the hairdryer death.
It adds nothing to the plot.
And it goes nowhere. It was just another morbid event thrown into an already overstuffed episode because the production felt an insatiable, almost compulsive need to constantly provide shock value, even if it was completely nonsensical.
It's like watching a deleted scene from a surrealist comedy sketch. But wait, the blender keeps spinning. A few weeks later, Lachlan White, part of the legacy White family that is currently collapsing, leaves a highly disturbing suicidal voicemail.
Right, he disappears.
Now, normally, the village should be in an uproar. The police should be searching the moors.
In any other era of the show, a legacy character leaving a suicidal voicemail would anchor an entire month of storytelling. It would involve multiple families.
Obviously.
But in late 2017, Lachlan just vanishes for a week and then casually walks back into the village.
Like nothing happened.
There is almost zero follow-up. It was treated as a Tuesday subplot that resolved itself with a shrug.
Why do that? Why introduce the stakes of suicide if you aren't going to explore the emotional fallout? It feels so cynical.
It is cynical. It's writing for the commercial break hook rather than the character arc. And if you thought December would bring some Christmas cheer and grounding reality, we reached the absolute peak of the mountain of madness.
Christmas Day 2017.
Oh, yes.
Now, I know Christmas Day episodes are a huge deal for UK soaps, but what Emmerdale did this year feels like a Charles Dickens fever dream.
That's putting it mildly.
Robert Sutton, recovering from randomly being run over by a car a few days prior, falls asleep and gets trapped in a Groundhog Day-style time loop nightmare.
Right.
And who is guiding him through this nightmare?
The ghost of Val Pollard.
Val Pollard.
Val Pollard was a legendary, beloved character who had died 2 years prior in a hall of mirrors during a helicopter crash.
As you do in a soap opera.
As you do. She returns as a ghost, sitting in the passenger seat of Robert's car, giving him FM radio-style exposition about his life choices.
Okay, I have to play devil's advocate here. Was the writing team just trying to be avant-garde? Were they looking at prestige dramas on HBO, looking at shows like The Leftovers or Twin Peaks and thinking, we can do surrealism, we can push the boundaries of what a soap opera can be?
Was it an artistic experiment that just missed the mark?
Yeah, could it be that?
It's a generous interpretation, but if we look closely at the mechanics of the episode, it points to a different reality.
Okay.
It wasn't boundary pushing. It was a symptom of a show that had fundamentally stopped trusting its own format.
What do you mean?
Well, a Christmas soap episode usually relies on family secrets coming out over the turkey.
Right, classic drama.
They didn't trust that two characters talking in a pub about their feelings was enough to hold the audience's attention anymore. They felt they needed a ghost, a time loop, and avant-garde editing just to justify their existence on the schedule.
They chose Twitter trends over emotional resonance. They wanted people tweeting OMGVLIS back as a ghost instead of feeling deeply moved by Robert's redemption arc.
Exactly. And this is where we have to pivot to the cold, hard data. Because you can write ghost stories and hairdryer deaths all day long, but eventually the bill comes due.
And the numbers do not lie.
They don't. And the ratings faceplant of 2017 is one of the most stark examples of an audience rejecting a creative direction in modern television history.
Let's look at the drop. We established that in 2016, during the patient-grounded Ashley dementia storyline, they pulled an average of 5.67 million viewers.
Peak golden era.
But in 2017, the year of Finn walking into a bullet, Rebecca's dual personalities, and Ghost Val in a Ford Focus, the average dropped to 5.12 million.
That is a loss of over 550,000 average viewers in a single calendar year.
500,000 people looked at the scripts for 2017, watched the chaos unfold, and collectively decided, you know what? I'm good, I'll turn it off.
You do not lose 500,000 loyal daily viewers by accident. It wasn't nice weather keeping people outside. It was a mass conscious rejection of the narrative volume.
And we can pinpoint the exact moment the audience's patience snapped.
Oh, the lowest point.
The single least watched episode of the entire year of 2017 aired on September 1st. It pulled just 5.1 million viewers.
And what was happening on September 1st?
We were right in the absolute middle of the Emma Barton spiral, right as the Robron destruction was peaking. Right when the show was supposedly delivering maximum drama, the audience tuned out.
But the most damning metric of all, the one that truly shows how far the mighty had fallen, is the Christmas Day rating.
Oh man, this one hurts.
As you noted, Christmas Day is the Super Bowl of British television. It is the day you bring out your best material and families watch together.
The Christmas Day 2017 episode, the Val Pollard Ghost Time Loop Extravaganza, pulled just 3.7 million viewers.
3.7 million.
On the biggest TV day of the year, Emmerdale finished in 10th place across all networks. Look at what beat them. Mrs. Brown's Boys, Strictly Come Dancing, Call the Midwife, EastEnders, Doctor Who, and The Queen's Speech, 10th place.
It is a devastating metric for a flagship show. But here is where we encounter the ultimate irony of the 2017 paradox.
The creative accounting.
Yes. If you look at the official press releases from the network at the end of that year, they actually claimed that the 2017 average was 6.44 million viewers.
Right.
They sent out press releases claiming the audience had increased by 430,000.
Wait, how is that mathematically possible? We just established they lost 500,000 viewers. How did the official number go up?
Creative accounting. 2017 was the very first year that BARB, the Broadcasters Audience Research Board, changed how they counted the ratings.
Okay.
For the first time, they combined the live viewing figures from the main ITV channel, the ITV HD channel, and the ITV Plus One catch-up channel into a single consolidated number.
You have got to be kidding me. So the audience didn't actually grow at all.
Not even a little bit.
The show didn't get more popular. They just changed the spreadsheet to count people they weren't counting the year before. That is not a creative renaissance. That is just clever math masking a sinking ship.
It's purely administrative growth. And the long-term demographics prove that the ship was indeed sinking, because the chaos of 2017 wasn't just a temporary blip. It broke the trust of the audience permanently.
How bad was the long-term damage?
Well, between 2017 and 2021, Emmerdale shed 22% of its total audience.
Wow.
But the truly terrifying number for the network is the youth collapse. Between 2017 and 2021, the show lost 48% of its 16 to 34-year-old audience.
Nearly half of the younger generation of viewers. The exact demographic that is supposed to keep a legacy show alive for the next 20 years.
Yep. They looked at the 2017 storylines and said, yeah, this is exhausting. I'm just going to watch streaming.
They left the ecosystem. And they never came back.
And this wasn't just an isolated incident. 2017 marked the beginning of the end for the entire UK soap opera golden era. In 2007, the big three soaps averaged 8.7 million viewers. By 2017, the combined average had collapsed to 6.9 million.
It's a huge industry shift.
The lesson here is structural. You cannot out-Netflix by trying to be a chaotic, fast-paced thriller. You don't have the budget, you don't have the production time, and it's not what your format is built for.
Right.
Soaps win by doing what only soaps can do: deep, long-form, patient, community-rooted storytelling.
They win by making you care deeply about the people in the pub, not by dropping a hairdryer on them for a cheap gasp.
Precisely.
So, let's summarize the tragedy of 2017 Emmerdale. Because it wasn't a boring year. It wasn't a forgettable year.
Far from it.
It was intensely memorable, but for all the wrong reasons. It proved that a television show can have all the industry awards in the world, an incredibly talented cast, and decades of history, and still completely lose its way if the people in charge prioritize shock over substance and cheap stunts over narrative structure.
It is the year the mask slipped. The year you could see the panic behind the plot twists. It's a stark reminder to anyone in media that a loyal audience is never a captive audience. You have to earn their time and their trust every single episode.
So what does this all mean for us today? It means that trending online does not equal emotional resonance. 1 million angry tweets do not equal a good story.
If I can leave you with a final thought to mull over, it's this. We live in an age where every piece of media, from our television shows to our 24-hour news cycles to the way corporations market to us, is absolutely desperate for your immediate shocked reaction.
They want your outrage, your gasp, your click.
Exactly. But in this frantic race to generate the most volume, how much genuine, quiet quality are we losing just to satisfy the algorithm?
Next time you see a show trending online or a massive plot twist going viral, take a step back and ask yourself, is this actually good storytelling? Is this genuine character growth? Or did someone just get shot in the dark woods by accident because the writers desperately needed you to look at the screen? Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Keep looking closer at the media you consume, and we will see you next time.